G'day everyone. Many of you are often asking about him, so I thought it was time to give you all an update on my Morphed Axolotl Mr Derp. I know it may be hard for some people to accept, but this is an axolotl that has metamorphosed into its salamander stage. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. I bought this animal from an aquarium shop just over 2 years ago, already in the morphed state. And according to the shop owner, he had arrived in a shipment of regular axolotls and they just wanted him to go to a good home. I know some people have suggested that this is a different species altogether, even coming up with some extraordinarily complicated scenarios to back up their opinions. But if my accent hasn't given it away by now, I live in Australia, an island continent that's an extremely beautiful place to live, most of the time. And because of our remoteness, we have some of the most unique ecosystems, containing many animals and plants that cannot be found anywhere else on the planet. For this reason, we have some of the strictest biosecurity laws than any other country. So as far as pets go, unless you own a cat or a dog, there's not a lot of options as far as pets go. But one of the few exceptions, and the only exotic amphibian that you can keep legally here, is the humble axolotl. So for those that still want to believe that he's a tiger salamander or a mud puppy or something else, we just don't have those here. Another question that I often get asked is, how did he morph? And as I mentioned before, he was already in this morph state when I got him, and I can only speculate as to what caused it. And once again, many people have suggested some of the ways that it could have happened, and I do have some theories on that myself. However, I'm not going to discuss these in this video, because I don't want to encourage anyone to attempt to force their axolotls to morph. The reason for this is, and I honestly believe it does not increase the animal's quality of life, and probably does reduce their possible lifespan. Just enjoy your axolotls as they are. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's move on to some updates. Since I moved him into this setup around 10 months ago, his mobility has increased tenfold, and he can now swim and walk around without issue. He can now even burst out of the water like a tiny crocodile to take food from a set of tongs. I did, however, end up removing most of the plants from the tank because he still ended up getting himself tangled up in them. I'm still using the UVB light, but I'm now running it in conjunction with a reptile fogger. I had to do this because I often found that when he basked under it, it would dry his skin out a bit too much. I've recently removed the reptile hide he was using. I started noticing that the material was breaking down into these creepy little crystal fibres, so I'll be retiring that and replacing it with a handmade porcelain hide. As far as feeding goes, I'm still occasionally dosing his food with mineral supplement. And at the moment he's getting the equivalent of around 2 to 3 medium-sized crickets every 2 to 3 days. I only have crickets and roaches at the moment, but I have been feeding him things like worms, superworms, soldier fly larvae, and even some small fish on occasion. And as far as any plans to keep him with any other tank mates, it's probably not a good idea. Anyway, that's going to be it for this update on the puddle monster. If you have any other questions and theories, please leave them in the comments, and possibly we'll catch you in the next one.